$5,000, but I also don't wanna go back on what we were already
Right.
told.
Okay, I really thought y'all said, okay.
But
It's what we told them, not
that's what we've told them, and that includes capital.
Oh, I know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I pretty much left it up to them how they wanted to split that into capital.
Mhm.
Hadn't heard back from them on it, but, okay. 2% COLA, progressive steps, we can't cut that out this year, we did last year, we can't do that again. Tribute match, maintain 100% paid health insurance premium for staff, well,
Well, look at the next line though, lapse salary, help, 401K, all that. And so I wonder if we could cut more there. When we did projections of our turnover rate for the last 2 years, the savings we had in just health insurance premiums was like $2 million. Because
what's
if
our
they want-
turnover rate, percentage wise?
we break it down by department.
But what's our overall county?
Molly, do you know, it's all
Ballpark.
like, she's pulling it.
Yeah, you gotta be exact,
Not
but,
about 4.
I mean, if it's 20%,
I'll take it.
and you figure that 20% is gonna be a quarter of the year, that's pretty easy to calculate.
That's exactly what we did, we did it.
The
for
danger
at least 3 months.
is projecting it and it don't happen.
Right,
But,
but then you save on their health insurance, their 401K match we're not
Right.
putting in, their salary, and the other little insurances we no longer put in for that quarter of the year also. But that, again, that's a risk you take. But our history shows we have a lot of turnover.
Looks like somewhere around 33%
so
Overall.
33% of 327 is 100,
overall.
and then you take that 100 and say one quarter of the year, you're gonna be emptying that position. Oh boy, even my calculation won't run that fast. That's $1.4 million in health insurance, $1.1 million in health insurance alone.
Alone.
Not
Alone.
including 401K.
That does include
And their
401K and the salary and all that stuff, so you could probably double that number. So, so there may be some room in there to up that. It's, those things are you know,
So,
it's scary to do that projection and the thing don't come in.
Right,
Or
right.
hopefully we don't have turnover, hopefully we don't
Well,
have.
but I guess
Which
the
is
other,
correct. We
the
don't
other
want
piece to that, and when someone leave, are you gonna freeze those positions and survive by attrition? Some department can't, EMS can't.
Well,
No,
no, that's just, I'm averaging out the turnover percentage
Overall.
and just saying, on an average, it's gonna take a quarter to hire somebody. So, you know, that number may very well be 2 million instead of 1.2.
So you may not have to cut as much.
We may not have, right, but I'm over here calculating what do we do to get to that $1.6 million deficit, okay?
and that's before anything else has been approved. That, like, what I asked Beth to do, and we did, was give you what it's gonna take to operate the county with nothing extra in it right now. Except for the things you've already approved, like 2%, those few capital requests. That's all that's in here. So no other requests have been built in yet.
But it is premised on the 2% COLA,
Yes, sir.
the
Those are in
progressive,
there for staff.
and
And it's premised on,
that was some
the
of the
health
commitments
insurance.
we were trying
Health
to keep.
insurance increase is already in there too.
That's right.
So, just a quick number, don't nobody hold me to this. If we count the $192,000 incentive that we said we're not gonna do, right? That was
Oh,
to Edwards,
yes.
that's out.
Right.
$1 million decrease in ad valorem tax, I don't know, but I know they only let us project so much. That's a big,
Say we can get close.
no, it's, sorry, sales tax. I don't know, I just don't think that's gonna happen. We projected that in COVID and it went up instead of down, and we were told by the state, oh, it's gonna tank. It's gonna tank, it's not gonna do, it's not gonna, I said, no, it's not, it's gonna go up. People are still ordering, they order online, they still pay sales tax online. I think we're missing an $800,000–900,000 income gap there. And I have no idea what this abbreviation I wrote on here. Oh, well, it was a question is what it was, of restricted revenue. What's involved in that?
So those are all of your health department and DSS. The majority of that is health department and DSS with their state allocations. They can only be used for,
No, I get that, but I guess I'm saying, I'm questioning why did it go down?
We still need good numbers from DSS for their revenue.
And then the
So
old
those could be-
infamous miscellaneous revenue.
so the majority of that is the school lease. They owe us around $2 million total with the debt service.
Mhm.
So that number is plugged in here, and between the, what they provide and through some other dollars that we get through taxes and other things, that makes that number up.
But that's
The
another
school
$1
lease
million
payment.
decrease.
That's, I'm sorry, Herbert. Well, that is based off of debt service. As their debt service goes down, their lease payment goes down.
Right, yeah, I knew that. But I mean, do we project $1 million decrease or do we project a $900,000 decrease? I mean, I'm playing with numbers here,
Okay.
but
Well, we're getting to the point where we play, even with small numbers, that's what we do
It makes a
to
big
make
difference.
up that
Well,
$1 million.
when I get to the end, it's gonna make sense why I did it this way. So talk about you seeing as ad valorem restricted revenue, I don't think it's gonna be as much as what's on there, and maybe reduce the miscellaneous by $100,000. Then if you were to add a $100 employee participation on health insurance a month, your $1.6 million hole is then filled. I've done my part.
Thank you for that fine analysis, Mr. Commissioner.
Don't ask me to repeat it, because I can't do it. That's why I wrote it
How,
down.
how comfortable is the board in what we were talking about with lap salary, health savings, 401k savings? How comfortable are you with your risk level of knowing we will have turnover, but you don't know exactly how much, but you know you're gonna save money off of it?
Well, let's
How
just,
comfortable are you increasing that at all?
let's just say we increase it by 800,000, but we should sat here and said it'd probably be about 2 million, right?
Okay,
800,000. Then I could take out this ad valorem question because we don't know what it's gonna be, or the sales tax, I'm sorry. That would equal out and the hole is still filled. Okay, if that makes sense. And I say the hole's filled, we don't have to go into the fund balance. I really would like to stay away from that fund balance this year and not do that, because this time next year, we're gonna have a much different conversation
yeah, it'll be
because
a,
of the reevaluation.
So is the effect of the grant writers work in here, in these numbers?
no, because we don't know, you know, what they may,
Because last year, they department heads generated $600K on their own. It seems like we should be able to at least put some value to what the grant writer might be able to generate for the county.
I think what we're gonna see with the grant writer, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think what you're gonna see is it won't supplant operational cost, which is really what this is. It will bring additional things that we won't, but we couldn't put in our budget.
Right.
I think that's what you're gonna see. So you can build the grant money in, you gotta build the expenses in too, so it might just
Just be,
It just be a
almost be
wash,
passed
yeah.
through, yeah.
but we end up with better equipment, new
We
equipment.
will, like Robert might get that piece of, CPR piece of equipment he's asking for, that's a perfect grant opportunity.
Well, I wanna make sure the sheriff's deal is right, because that's a decrease in it, but has that got to do with the money that he got in from that
The
seed?
drug deal.
No, that is not even factored into this.
Okay,
No, looking back at comparing the budget from last year to this year, there were some personnel costs that seem to have not jived compared to the staff, I guess, that he's got.
oh, there it is.
So I think that was just an error on our end.
All right, so that money's not even counted
No,
for
we
here.
hadn't talked about that.
So in the capital stuff that's not listed on there, the cars that he's gonna need this year, that could be considered or looked at for doing.
That money,
Because he's gotta have cars this year.
I
He's gotta have
I agree,
cars.
he needs cars.
but is it coming out of those funds?
I would hope that
I hope
we could
so,
take
too.
most of it. It wouldn't take it
Not
all.
all of it, but
It
some of
wouldn't
it.
take it all, but I think we can do, because especially if he buys the state contract cars,
Well-
you can get us a cheap on the
But
state.
you know, they probably will upgrade body cameras and things that, and they tasers and things.
The amount he's we have received now is $546,000.
Yeah, so.
From there was 3 allotments, that's the total right at 546.
But I think in that, and if the sheriff watches this, whatever, because he's separate, we kinda have to let him, all we do is set his budget, right? But, my sales point to Ralph would be, with that 546, you decide how many cars you need, and if there's extra left in there, then he does whatever he needs to do with it, or wants to do with it, or whatever. But that's where your budget's gonna be for the vehicles this year. And maybe he says he needs 8, and he can get them for 30 grand on the state, that's
Right.
$210,000, whatever the number is.
And I think depending on where those cars go, they can choose if they outfit them or not. I don't wanna talk out of turn, but certain vehicles may not have to be totally upfitted. Well,
Right.
Mr. D,
Right.
you could talk about that.
Well, according to their role, like,
Right.
if they're a transport vehicle, they may not need blue lights.
Okay,
If they're undercover, then they may not need the bar light on top of the patrol car. So there's some expenses that they may not have to,
Okay.
put into every vehicle. Patrol is different from detective division. Detective division, they got one light on the dash and, mobile radio in the car, so
Well, can they take some of the equipment off the older cars and put them on?
they can if it's compatible. Because you gotta understand that radios fit in certain compartments.
I'm talking about cars' lights and stuff,
They
like
can.
car lights. and
They
stuff
can,
like that.
they can if they still work, yeah.
All right.
I think they do that. I do think they do that.
So, we kinda got a rough plan there of how to fill that hole. But we can, I think the next couple of items on the agenda, the next 2 items anyway, are covered in all that discussion as well, right? Because it's on the back of the cheat sheet for the capital outlay.
No, these next 2 agenda items are everything they've asked, the departments have asked for that are not in this budget.
Right, okay.
So, I think, I'm clearly not asking you, I think you have to decide either look at the list and go through it and say, and decide, like, there's things on the list, like EMS really needs at least 1 ambulance remounted. That we really need 2, we could get by with 1 this year.
What's the remount cost?
$200,
No,
wasn't
I
No,
think that's.
for that was,
Sorry, I'm on the
the
line.
rebound would be about 192,000,
Oh.
96,000 to do a rebound for one.
About 200, and so we had 2 on here.
There was 2 of them, one, depending on the type chassis, they're 2
Yeah.
different prices.
But we don't have, that's not in your folder, right?
It looks like this.
No, I'm talking about the one on here.
Yes, sir, it's in there.
It's in there?
It would, probably be called capital request.
Oh, duh, okay, sorry, I see it now.
One thing I can say about capital request, if we have good news, we can surplus, the van, at the landfill, and our department head is okay with that, and surplus it over to another department. We know the library's needing something to serve as a bookmobile to a degree. We also have scats that if we can, correct a cracked frame on the bus, we can send that over to Parks and Rec. And so that takes 2 vehicles that we can surplus out and not have to buy vehicles.
Well, let's just go down the list.
Okay.
Communications 911, I think we've already talked,
We
we
approved
need to do
those, yeah.
that.
They're in your
We've already
budget
done
already.
it. DSS, two-way radios, 10 of them. Don't we still have the old radios that they could use? The
So-
old analog radios?
So we do have some, that I have. All of the other first responders, law enforcement and all that, they kept theirs as backups. For the UHF, VHF frequencies in the event that we have to switch over to those. I have some, I've got about 10 in my arsenal that I have as backups, but that's all I have. But both law enforcement agencies, the police department, the sheriff's department, and all the fire departments, during this whole Viper project, it was highly recommended that everybody keep their old equipment, because that is our backup if the Viper system goes down and we have to do a quick switch over so that we can continue operations.
But are we beyond that point now?
No, we will never be beyond that point. We own the frequencies, the UHF,
Yeah, I know
VHF
that.
frequencies, the county owns those frequencies.
Right.
The state owns the Viper
The
frequencies.
Viper frequency.
Correct. So occasionally they have to do maintenance on them and whatnot, and they'll have to take them down. They give us a heads up that they're gonna do that, so then we get the word out to all of our agencies on this date. We need to make that switch back over to our backup system. It may only be for 4 hours, it may only be for 6 hours, but we've got to have that continuity of operation to be able to do that at a day's notice.
2 vehicles for DSS?
They ask. Every department, not every, a lot of departments ask for vehicles.
Do we,
I just
do
don't
we
know that.
need 2 cars for DSS?
A DSS could use 15 cars because they have so many social workers.
But
Um,
$30,000 a car, it seems like we can get some, I don't think they need.
Oh, I agree. It
What I
doesn't
mean,
have to
is
be
the
a
state, do they get state contract cars?
Let's,
I mean, they get state
in the
contract
event
cars.
that you take a vote to consolidate, you will have a fleet of vehicles between DSS and health versus each department having their own vehicles. Now, some vehicles cannot be used by DSS because they were bought with particular grant money.
Right.
But that may open you up, they already share vehicles.
So that may be a bridge,
DSS already
Yeah,
uses
they
our
already
vehicles
share
for us.
them.
so that may be a bridge to cross at another point.
It may have to be because I don't know that you can afford it.
But the two-way radios, it sounds like we're gonna have to do something. Okay, so EMS, and I think we agree we're gonna do at least one
One remount.
remount,
Okay.
which was how much?
That was-
200,000.
can we
I think
put two-
$200,000 would cover the one that needs to be remounted the most.
And the Lucas 3 chest compression device.
I think we'll try to get a
Is
grant
that
for
the thing
that.
that,
I
the
think that's
dummy
something
that
our
lays
grant
there,
writer
that you do
can-
But
that?
that's the machine that you put around that actually does the CPR compressions.
They used to call them thumpers.
That is
Okay.
correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we.
See, I even knew something.
Hey, there you go.
And that may be a grant target too.
I think that's a good grant.
Yes.
That would be a good,
Okay.
yeah. 2 animal control vehicles and 2 new boxes. Maybe the vehicles, but there ain't nothing wrong with the boxes. Is there?
Go ahead, man.
I was told that with it being a different model, that the boxes that were on there wouldn't fit in a newer model truck.
They can be altered.
I was gonna
Let's
say,
talk
you
to
can
them.
make
Yeah,
it.
they can be altered.
I also talked to Mike and Joey to say, could we get one this year and one next year? And they think, there's one in definite worse shape than the other. If we wanna go with one, we could try that.
I'll tell you
Of
what,
course, you can keep them both on the road, they're driving around, it's just maintenance costs, doesn't get cheaper.
I'll tell you, I think the one-in-one solution is maybe what we need this year.
One this year, one
Try
next
to
year,
do
but I don't
one
think
this
we
year,
need
one
a new
next year.
box. I mean, like I said, any machine shop can
Well,
convert.
that's why I was gonna ask the question, is it welded? Is the cage, is it welded on the back of the truck? Or
I
not?
think one truck is welded and one is a box, it didn't take off.
You could take the welded one off if
Cut it?
Yeah, you can cut them, yeah.
you. I mean, cause I don't think he's gonna
Yeah.
sell it with that on there.
I mean, you take the whole bed off of it.
Yeah, if you want to.
Take the whole bed on there.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I know there's a machine shop or
There's a
somebody
wheel, there's a
around
way,
can do
brother.
that. But, so, we're saying 52,000 with the 2 boxes, but let's just maybe, I don't know, 45 for that?
For a truck.
45,000?
The truck and boxes.
1 truck and no new box. Just transfer the box that's on the one.
One truck for 45?
On state contract.
I thought it was less than that.
Oh, well, I'm saying moving the box and all that
Okay,
too,
okay.
because you have to pay somebody to do that.
Yeah. No, even the prices on state contract have gone up, so if it's $45,000 for your basic, you know, cloth seat, vinyl floorboard truck, they, even on state contract, they're in the 40s.
AM radios, stick
Yeah, I mean,
shields.
it's
Right,
base,
yeah.
that's pure base model.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we don't need, yeah, we don't need it. I think the office redesign, we wait until we make that other call to see how we're gonna.
Oh, okay, okay.
Landfill. Of course, this is
Landfill-
coming out of a different bucket of
Yeah,
money.
I was gonna say, if you, are okay with landfill, to trust Beth and Thomas to really look at what the budget is and what the biggest need is and let them work that out.
Okay, yeah, because that's coming out of the enterprise
It is,
fund,
it's not
so-
coming out of your general fund.
Also, are we considering a lease program?
We have talked about that. When we went and visited Robinson County, that was a big discussion, about leasing this huge equipment, because at this point, when we start replacing equipment, even if we hire a heavy equipment mechanic, they can't work on the equipment.
Yeah.
So you have to pull people in to work on it, the electronic systems especially, so if you lease it, that company's coming to fix it.
Will the enterprise fund let us lease with their funds?
Yes.
I'll tell you what, I think that ought to be a part of this discussion, because I think in the out years, we're gonna think more about what to do with the landfill, and
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah,
conserving some funds through a lease program would probably help us.
Yeah, so that is a conversation, I know Thomas and I, and Beth,
Okay.
and I, and Thomas have been having.
Okay, so can we amend that action so that you can go to a lease program if a lease program makes sense?
Sure, yeah, and that's what we would do just as part of business, you know, just as part of, if they need a new bulldozer, look at all options.
Because
Buying
this
it-
only shows purchase, I assume.
Yes, that is just to get some numbers on paper, but we look at all options.
All right, the vehicle to replace the bookmobile.
So that's what I was saying,
The van.
we have the van, we can use for temporary purposes, or year purposes, until we're in a better place to buy what would really serve better.
I mean, I don't, how much is it gonna cost to fix that bookmobile to stay? It'll run one.
I don't know that we ever want to fix that. Gina's sitting there, so she is welcome to speak up, but I think they're also kind of changing their design of services. The bookmobile is getting, we were running it, the community wasn't using it. She saw the decline in use of people coming to that bookmobile drastically change.
Right.
So I don't know that's the design for the future anymore. And Jimmy, you're welcome to.
To speak about the bookmobile that's currently parked at the library, so we had discussed in previous conversations about the generator and the cost to replace it. It's still, even with the replacement of the generator, it still has an electrical issue that's never been solved. Unfortunately, as I was looking through paperwork, that electrical issue has been a problem 5 months after it was delivered to the library. So hindsight's 20/20 about that, we can't go back in time and get that fixed. But it's, logically, if you were to replace the generator for around $25,000, you still have an issue that is gonna put, it out of commission again.
So why don't we just get rid of it?
Yeah, I think that's what we're thinking.
I mean,
Just-
we may not
just-
get much out of it.
Well,
So the
we-
van at the
y'all can
landfill.
surplus it, and we might can sell it for a little bit, and then I do think she's just looking for a different model and not have a big bus type of.
The van at the landfill, I mean, I saw it, it's in great shape, and it gets driven 1 mile that way, 1 mile this way.
So
Would
we're
that be an
looking-
option?
Yes, we're looking at changing the model to a delivery service, utilizing our community centers as stops. it's hard to kind of conceptualize all the ideas that I have, but there's options of serving the community as an outreach program. And what would be great is to have a vehicle. We're currently using the EMS van to make stops and deliveries, and so any vehicle of that nature is still.
I tell you what, that van, that seems like a great utilization, an easy answer, and maybe give them some money to upfit it.
It's a
You know,
lot
'cause
easier
I'm
to
sure-
maintain it, yeah.
I think you're gonna need to
Yeah.
put some
But-
branding on it, and
Yeah.
you're gonna,
Now, I remember that bus was a hot thing back in the day. When kids, you know, the school did tours from school, and they would go over to the library and they would shut off that side strip road there. And it was a hot topic, but now it's,
Well, there's an element too that we could kind of bring into the conversation, and that goes back to grants. If we were to start at the bottom with doing delivery to the patrons who are utilizing it now, and support that community, and look towards the future with potentially having something to replace with a browsing type experience, which some patrons are still interested in, it can still be funded through grants, which is how most library systems get a bookmobile of any nature.
I feel
so
like
why don't
taking the
we,
van from the landfill
yeah,
is
why don't
kind
we
of
move the van
a plug.
to the hospital, or excuse me, to the library, and maybe give them 2,500 for
It
branding,
has to have a CDL.
upfit, whatever you need, to kind of make that van useful to you. Cause you may want the back seats taken out, you may
Right.
need a little bit of help to make it fit.
Storage of material within the van, things like that could be done.
Yeah.
Used.
What about, is that okay?
Well, what we need to do is we got, I'll get it on your commissioner's agenda surplus, and then we can kick it over to the library.
Yeah.
We do have materials that are currently stored on the bookmobile, so we would need to try to offload that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you can surplus the bookmobile and try to sell it on good deals.
So for the budget, can we just give them 2,500
Brandy,
for branding and whatever small modifications you need?
sure.
And it may end up being a negative or a wash, because if we sell the other one for 25, so.
Yeah.
All right, 20,000 rework Morgan Complex, are you talking about putting up scoreboards?
Nope, that's talking about the grass turf is in such bad shape on our main soccer field, the one that has lights.
But I thought that was also the one you were gonna put up a.
Yes, it is for field goals too.
Okay.
But that $20,000 is the first quote we got to rework that field. It's never been done since it was planted. We get complaints, from the people that rent the field, so
but you know, it's.
I'm sorry, you can't leave.
it's one of those
Is
things.
that the first one to the right, behind Parks and Rec?
It's the big one.
You get all the play. That's what on the weekends,
So,
that's what.
yeah, I just hate to spend $20,000 on grass.
I mean,
Well, couldn't
that's,
they- I thought they were-
that's one you can put off to another year.
Yeah, but I
Like,
thought
next
they
year's
were
gonna look
I
different.
thought they were overseeding that field during the off-season, I mean, just
Too
overseeding.
much.
Mike works it. Of course, Public Buildings works the field.
So that's one
and
we
tries to
can, we
maintain.
can wait a
We
year
can
on.
push that off. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
those for-
Public buildings, 10,000 bucket and grapple for tractor,
That's,
UNS gas public building landfill, and then a dump trailer. I don't think none of that's outrageous for sure. Scats, which 90% of that's gonna be federally paid anyway, a bus and a van. So that's really only costing us 2,000, or is that the 90% number there?
it's gonna cost us 22,000.
That's, oh, so it's, okay, I thought that was kinda cheap for two.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's our
it's gonna
2%
cost
cost.
us. And we don't have much choice in that if we continue to offer the scats.
That's true.
They make us redo those. Okay, then there comes the sheriff's money in there, but we know where that's gonna come out of. And the electronic phone dump software.
And that's an
Remember the name
annual
of it, there's a
cost.
name of it. What is it, Duke, that they use to download these cell phones? I watched somebody's trial that they did that, and they plug it in and
It is, I think it's called a dump, but it's something.
it's a
different.
name for it, yeah, anyway.
Could that be from drug seizure funds?
Sure.
Yeah, along with.
Oh, you may have said that and I missed it. Okay.
And then 9,500 countywide GPS for vehicles, I don't know why we haven't done that already.
Well, I think that's from a safety
Well, and
standpoint.
somebody
Yeah,
asked
that's
me
a
to get a
risk
quote on
mitigation.
that, and so that's basically the quote.
I think from a.
But I think
safety-
the sheriff's already done it, right?
He does, that does
Right.
not include the sheriff's
Yeah,
department, he's
okay.
already got his.
Yeah, okay, so that, there we go. I don't know what that totals up to, but
That's,
I'm
that's a
just
good
trying to
deal.
stay out of that fund balance this year, if we at all possibly can.
Yeah.
And,
Um,
and then next year, we'll all be having different conversations because of what'll happen with the